German pensioner's house raided for calling Green Minister an imbecile. You know, we are living in strange times where a democracy is a place where you're not allowed to insult your leaders. We used to say that the difference between living under a monarch and a democratic system is that we can criticize and even insult our politicians, and nothing bad will happen to us. Because at the end of the day, they are simply citizens just like us. They may be holding an important political position temporarily, but eventually their tenure will end and they will once again be private citizens. They are public servants, not some sort of untouchable rulers. If you go to China right now and insult Xi Jinping, I dare say you will get no worse than if you do the same to a German minister. Which just goes to show. The Greens especially, but the entire left really, is sliding us back into authoritarianism at a breakneck speed, and anyone who thinks otherwise simply needs to take a look at Germany. They are trying to spread these laws to the rest of the European Union too, and I dare say that if they succeed, they will simply move on to try and spread it through the UN to the entire world, because globalizing everything and standardizing it is part of the left-wing playbook right now. The left is the global order. So a 64-year-old German pensioner's house was raided by police and his computer and mobile phone confiscated after a complaint by Vice-Chancellor Robert Habeck, who was upset that the pensioner had called him an imbecile on social media. Can you imagine your prime minister or president, whatever you have, actually filing an official complaint with the police because you posted on social media that he's stupid? I can't imagine it in my country, in Israel. I can't imagine Trump doing it ever. Not in a million years. But for some reason, the ego of these green politicians is so fragile, they can't help themselves. They absolutely start bawling and crying the moment you call them a name, apparently. If insults are not to be allowed in society anymore, let's go to the nearest kindergarten and just arrest everybody. This is insane. The disturbing scenes, which the pensioner described as reminiscent of the communist era, played out on Tuesday, November 12th, according to German media reports. The public prosecutor's office said that the Green Party politician Robert Habeck, who is the vice-chancellor as well as the economy minister, had filed a criminal complaint himself, which led to the police raid in the Bavarian town of Bamberg. Stefan Niehoff was woken up by the police officers at dawn, together with his wife and daughter, who has Down syndrome, according to news portal news.de. The pensioner's crime, which Habeck could not tolerate, was that a few months ago he had posted a meme on his ex social media page in which beauty care brand, I cannot pronounce that, Schwarzkopf Professional's logo was replaced by the word Schwarzkopf Professional, which means professional idiot or imbecile, with a picture of a smiling Habeck. The man said he never thought an innocent meme would result in a house raid, and that the actions of Habeck are reminiscent of the communist era in East Germany. According to the prosecutors, the man's goal was to defame Robert Habeck in general and to make his work as a member of the federal government more difficult. I'm sorry, but I thought defamation laws were specifically to defend you against untruthful accusations. What do you mean, defame you in general? I think you're a bad person. Well, you defend me in general. What? How does calling you an imbecile make your work in the government harder? I don't understand. Are you saying that this random guy on social media has more credibility than you? So if he calls you a bad name, everybody's going to believe him and then it's going to be difficult for you to govern? That's a lot of power for a random pensioner on social media that doesn't even have a following. But okay, fair enough if this is the greatest fear of a green politician. Under a law introduced by the previous Angela Merkel-led German government, politicians have the right to file a criminal complaint if they believe that they have been the target of defamatory comments in relation to their official duties. What's the relation between being called an imbecile and your official duties, unless of course you are admitting that you have been an imbecile? Someone found guilty of such a crime can be fined or sent to prison for up to 3 years. According to conservative publication Junge Freiheit, I hope I pronounced that properly, green politicians have been making use of this legislation. Habeck employs a team of lawyers who scour all social networks every day for alleged insults. The Vice Chancellor has filed 805 criminal complaints. His colleague, Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock, has filed 453. It is no wonder that the Greens, who have overseen unpopular climate and woke policies in the past 3 years, are constantly losing the support of the electorate with antics like these. The case of an entrepreneur in the Bavarian town of Miesbach was another incident that caused a huge uproar earlier this year. Michael Moch put up posters in his own backyard featuring Habeck, Baerbock, and 2 other high-ranking Green politicians with the following caption: "We are ruining everything." And this is, I suppose, the things he posted on his signs. Police raided his house too, and the posters were confiscated. But the court dismissed the lawsuit brought against him as it deemed that the posters were a legitimate expression of his opinion. So you can still say that the opposition's political campaign is bad. The political opinions are bad. It's still allowed to say, I don't agree, for now. You just can't call them anything derogatory at all. Interesting. Both incidents are typical of the Greens, who, in the name of fighting hate speech, frantically want to quell the voices of those they don't agree with. Annalena Baerbock recently called on the European Commission to adopt new rules for dealing with disinformation on social networks. So it's disinformation to call someone stupid. Interesting. I would have thought that if you are actually intelligent, it would be self-evident and you wouldn't have anything to worry about. And if you need to censor someone, how did it go? When you cut off a man's tongue, you don't prove that he's correct, just that you fear what he has to say. I wonder why you are so afraid of being called stupid. She cited targeted attacks on democracy as her motive, saying fake news, hatred, and agitation were disintegrating our democratic reality. Your democratic reality seems awfully fragile. If someone hating you or agitating against you, as in to say, just criticizing you, is enough to disintegrate that reality. I mean, I thought observable reality is, like an immovable object that you can only crush yourself into if you try to ignore it. That has always been my take on reality. You are free to ignore observable reality, but not free to avoid the consequences of doing so. Apparently, reality is a much more fragile thing than previously thought. So this is another one from earlier, though. It's September the 1st. Germany started criminal investigation into social media user for mocking politician for being fat. Literally. It says here that it was on Gab, and the left-wing female politician was called fat there. The platform refused to comply with the German authorities' invasive demands to uncover the person's identity, the platform told Fox News Digital. So this is not an isolated incident. Well, it can't be. Over 800 complaints were filed by one politician, and another one filed 450 something. This is an epidemic of politicians abusing the power of their office in order to silence anyone that doesn't like them. You have politicians calling people a basket of deplorables. You have politicians calling them people trash, and I'm talking about the Democrats in the United States specifically. The Greens in Germany, I doubt they're any better. I remember seeing years and years ago a speech by the Green Party leader back then about how Germans, white ethnically German people, are becoming a minority in their own country, and it is a good thing. Someone who hates their own people so much, I can't help but feel that someone, either them or some other member of their own party, would have launched some derogatory comments at the electorate. Democrats and leftists in general can't seem to help themselves, and they just do it constantly. But apparently, because the public are not politicians in the course of their official duties, they don't get the protection of the same law that privileges the German politicians. So it's fine, I suppose, if it should happen. I can't help but feel as though they are masked off completely at this point. They are obviously evil tyrants. And I can say that because I'm not living in Germany, although it might be a good idea to never visit there until at least they have removed that rule, just for my general health. Anyway, I can't help but hope that we see a complete fall and, how to put it, irrelevance of all left-wing political platforms in the Western world in the coming few years, because there needs to be an overhaul, a restructuring of pretty much their entire worldview. The current one that hates their own people, hates freedom of speech, Western civilization, that believes everything to be racist, sexist, homophobic, etc., unless it's foreign, specifically from third world countries that hate us, and that wants to reverse all societal norms that were the bedrock of our civilizations for thousands of years. That worldview needs to go. Absolutely. I remember the left wing in the, let's say, early 2000s, I guess, was when I first started thinking a bit about politics. I was very young, so. And back then, the things the left said, a lot of them were perfectly normal, and today would be considered far right, honestly. They need to scale back the crazy. There's no other way. We do need to have an opposition. We do need left and right, but not this type of left. And this type of left can go. We don't need it at all. And this is not a call for any action of a violent sort. This is simply hoping that they lose popular support and that someone else comes in to replace them and receives the support of the left to do some good instead of destroying everything and replacing it with, honestly, trash. I believe it was a certain once and future president that said that everything woke turns to, yes. I suppose it is self-evident at this point, but even so, it bears repeating. It's the same with any sort of media. It's the same with the neighborhoods controlled by left-wing politicians in major cities in the United States. And it's the same with even the sort of infrastructure of society. I mean, you did not have planes losing doors while flying before we had this diversity and inclusivity initiative. Everything woke, is absolutely awful and has to go. No other way. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.